Ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason why 95.7% of men, yeah, almost all of them, chase certain women. I ain't talking about women who just look good. Oh no, that's surface level, that's easy. I'm talking about the women who got something deeper, something real, something a man can't shake off even if he tried. Men chase women who know their worth. That's not just a catchy line. It's a fact rooted in how attraction, respect, and energy really work. When a woman truly understands her value, she moves differently, she talks differently, she carries herself in a way that commands attention without even trying. She's not loud about it, she doesn't need to be. Her presence speaks for itself. A woman who knows her worth doesn't chase validation. She doesn't seek approval in likes, comments, or compliments. She already knows she's enough. She's not waiting on someone to confirm it. That kind of confidence doesn't just come from being told she's beautiful. It comes from going through things, growing through them, and realizing that no one can define her except her. It's internal. It's solid. It's unshakable. Men notice that kind of woman. They notice when she's not playing games, when she's not desperate for attention, when she's got her own lane, her own dreams, her own vibe. She's not out here trying to impress every man in the room. She's focused on her purpose. Her energy isn't scattered, it's intentional. And when a man sees that, he sees a challenge, not in a bad way, but in the best way. He sees someone he can't just impress with empty words or flashy things. He sees someone who requires effort, growth, and consistency. That kind of woman makes a man pause and ask himself, am I ready for her? She doesn't lower herself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. She doesn't bend her values just to keep a man around. If he doesn't treat her right, she walks gracefully but firmly, and that walk, away power, that's where her worth really shows, because it says, I don't need you to complete me, I'm already whole. You see, men might be drawn to a pretty face, but they chase what challenges them, what grows them, what pulls the best out of them. And a woman who knows her worth does exactly that. She sets standards without apology, not because she's being difficult, but because she respects herself too much to settle for less. That's not ego, that's self-love. She's not afraid to be alone because she enjoys her own company. She's not trying to fill a void. She's already filled it with self-respect, self-care, and self-awareness. And because of that, she doesn't attract just any man. She attracts men who are serious, men who are intentional. Men who recognize that she's not just another option, she's the standard. Knowing your worth isn't about being perfect. It's about being real with yourself, owning your strengths, and understanding that you deserve to be loved without having to beg, chase, or compromise your identity. It's walking in the truth that you bring value, not just in how you look, but in who you are, how you think, and how you live. Confidence is more attractive than beauty. That might sound surprising in a world that seems obsessed with appearance, but it's the truth. Beauty can catch someone's eye, but confidence keeps their attention. You can be the most physically attractive person in the room, but if you walk around unsure of yourself, constantly seeking approval, that glow starts to dim fast. On the other hand, someone who may not fit society's narrow standards of perfect can walk in with their head held high, speaking with purpose and moving with certainty, and instantly become the most captivating person in the room. Confidence is magnetic. It pulls people in without effort. It makes someone want to learn more about you, want to be around your energy, want to match your level. Confidence says, I know who I am, and I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to be me. That kind of energy, it's rare, and rare things always get noticed. Confidence doesn't mean arrogance. It's not about being loud or trying to dominate every conversation. It's about being sure of your value even when nobody claps for you. It's walking into a room and not needing to compare yourself to anyone else because you're too busy being secure in who you are. When a woman is confident, she doesn't need to compete, she complements. She empowers, she walks in her truth, and that truth shows up in how she speaks, how she treats people, how she handles challenges. It's a quiet strength, not a show. Men see that, and they respect it. It tells them she can handle herself, she has standards, and she's not desperate for validation. That changes the entire dynamic. A confident woman flips the script. She doesn't just hope to be chosen, she's choosing to. Beauty can be admired from a distance, but confidence makes someone want to get closer. It's rooted in how someone carries themselves when things aren't going perfect, how they respond when they're doubted, how they treat others when there's nothing to gain. Confidence is attractive because it's real, and real stands out. You can wear the nicest clothes, have flawless makeup, or the most expensive shoes, but if your spirit is insecure, that insecurity will show up before you even speak. Confidence builds trust. It makes people feel safe around you, inspired by you, and connected to you, and it's built, not bought. It comes from doing the inner work, facing your fears, standing up for yourself, and learning to love who you are at every stage of your journey. You don't need to be the loudest person to be confident. You just need to be sure of who you are and what you bring to the table. When you move like that, you don't have to chase anyone. The right people will naturally come your way. Standards should never be lowered for anyone. That's not about being difficult or hard to please. It's about honoring your value and refusing to compromise your peace, your worth, or your future for temporary attention. When you set standards, you're telling the world how you expect to be treated. You're drawing a line that says, "This is the level I live at, and I won't accept less." That's not pride, that's self-respect. And people who genuinely want to be in your life will rise to meet it, not try to pull you down from it. Too often, people lower their standards out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of missing out, fear that no one better will come along. But settling for less never brings more. All it does is train people to give you the bare minimum. When you accept poor treatment, inconsistent effort, or one-sided love, you're teaching people that it's okay to give you less than you deserve. And once you start lowering that bar, it doesn't stop at just one thing. It becomes a pattern, a slow erosion of your self-worth until you barely recognize who you are. Keeping your standards high doesn't mean you expect perfection. It means you expect effort. It means you know that real love comes with consistency, respect, honesty, and emotional maturity. You can be understanding and compassionate without tolerating disrespect. You can be patient without being a pushover. There's a difference between compromise and self-sacrifice. Compromise is healthy. But when you're constantly the one bending, breaking, and giving up pieces of yourself just to make someone else comfortable, that's no longer compromise. That's losing yourself. People will test your boundaries. That's just human nature. Some will try to see how much they can get away with. That's why your standards have to be clear and firm, not with bitterness, but with clarity. You don't need to explain them to everybody. You just need to live by them. Your actions should reflect them, because when you respect yourself, you naturally attract others who will too. The ones who are meant for you won't be intimidated by your standards. They'll be inspired by them. They'll understand that those standards weren't created from ego, but from experience, from lessons learned, from pain that turned into wisdom, and they'll see those standards as a guide, not a wall. Anyone who tries to guilt you into lowering them, who calls you too much for wanting honesty, consistency, or loyalty, that's someone who benefits from your lack, not your growth. Standards are not about control. They're about protecting your peace. They help filter out the people who are not serious, not ready, or not willing to match your energy. That's why they're necessary. They keep you from wasting time, from giving your heart to people who only know how to play with it. Standards act as a mirror, reflecting what you believe you're worthy of, and if you start making exceptions for the wrong reasons, you send a message to the world that your worth is negotiable. Self-respect draws real pursuit. It's the silent force that commands attention without needing to demand it. When someone respects themselves, it shows in how they speak, how they carry themselves, and how they let others treat them. That kind of energy is powerful because it signals to the world that this person has already done the inner work. They've already decided that their peace, their dignity, and their standards are not up for negotiation. And that's exactly what draws real, intentional pursuit. Not games, not flings, not half-hearted efforts, but real, focused energy from people who are serious. Self-respect means you don't beg for love, you don't chase validation, and you don't stay in places where you're not valued. It means you walk away when words don't match actions. It means you say no when something doesn't align with your values. That kind of discipline, that kind of self-awareness, doesn't just happen overnight. It comes from learning hard lessons, from ignoring red flags in the past, and deciding you're not going to make the same mistake twice. And once you've got it, it becomes a part of how you move. You don't have to announce it. It's in your energy. When people encounter someone with real self-respect, it creates a shift. They either rise to meet you or remove themselves. There's no middle ground, and that's exactly how it should be. You stop entertaining confusion. You stop accepting inconsistency. You stop giving discounts on access to you. And because of that, the people who do step forward do it with purpose. They know they're not dealing with someone who's going to settle for anything. They know they have to bring their best. The kind of pursuit that lasts is the kind that's built on mutual respect. Not pressure, not manipulation, not pretending. And that starts with how you treat yourself. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. If you respect your time, others will too. If you speak with honesty and expect it in return, people will either match that or move on. If you value your emotional space, you won't allow people to come in and create chaos just because you're afraid to be alone. You'll know that solitude with peace is better than company with confusion. Self-respect also brings clarity. It helps you see through empty promises, charming distractions, and surface-level interest. It keeps you grounded. It reminds you that you are not here to be picked like a prize. You are the one doing the choosing because you know what you bring to the table. And when you operate from that place, you start to notice the difference between those who are truly pursuing you and those who are simply passing time. People who genuinely want something real are drawn to those who respect themselves because real ones recognize real strength. They want a partner, not a project. They want someone who holds themselves to a standard because it means they'll also hold the relationship to that same standard. Purpose and peace are magnetic. When someone is walking in alignment with their purpose, when they're focused on what drives them, what fulfills them, what gives their life meaning, it radiates from every part of who they are. They don't need to explain it or prove it. It shows in how they wake up, how they carry themselves, how they treat others, and how they move through the world. That kind of energy attracts people who are not just curious, but deeply drawn in, because purpose is rare, and rare is always powerful. A person living in purpose doesn't chase noise. They don't need constant validation. Their sense of self isn't built on attention, approval, or trends. They have something bigger they're working on. They've got goals, direction, and focus. And that level of clarity is incredibly attractive because it communicates stability, drive, and discipline. It says, I'm not just out here floating. I know who I am and I know where I'm headed. People feel that, and whether they say it or not, they respect it. Now combine purpose with peace, and that's a whole different level of energy. Peace is not just being quiet or still. It's the result of self-awareness, boundaries, healing, and maturity. A person at peace is not easily shaken. They're not reactive. They don't get caught up in drama or competition. They protect their space because they understand the value of mental and emotional freedom. And that kind of peace makes others feel safe, seen, and stable. It's not about being passive, it's about being powerful enough to remain calm in the face of chaos. When someone is both purposeful and peaceful, their presence feels different. It's grounding, it's inspiring. It doesn't scream for attention, but it gets it anyway because it stands out in a world that's constantly loud, anxious, and chasing things that don't last. This type of person isn't trying to prove anything. They're not trying to fit in. They're not trying to impress. They're just being real, and real always resonates. People want to be around those who are aligned with themselves because it challenges them to do the same. It pulls something out of them. It makes them reflect on their own path. That's why people with purpose and peace don't usually deal with shallow relationships. They naturally filter out those who aren't ready to operate on that level. They don't have to cut people off harshly. Their consistency, boundaries, and focus do the work for them. The right people stay. The wrong ones fall off. There's also a quiet confidence that comes with knowing what you're about and protecting your peace. You stop second guessing yourself. You stop trying to please everybody. You make decisions from a place of clarity, not fear. You learn to say no without guilt and yes without hesitation. And that internal alignment becomes your foundation in everything. How you love, how you lead, how you live. When you have that balance between purpose and peace, you don't chase anything or anyone. You move and the right things move with you. The right man rises to meet your level. When a woman knows who she is, walks in her truth, and sets a clear standard for how she expects to be treated, the right kind of man doesn't get intimidated. He gets inspired. He sees the strength, the self-respect, and the value she brings, and instead of trying to diminish it, he works to elevate himself. That's how real pursuit works. It's not about control, not about games, but about growth. A mature man recognizes that being with a high value woman requires him to be more than average, and if he truly wants her, he'll do the work to become that. A woman operating at a high level, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, creates a certain energy. She doesn't entertain confusion. She doesn't beg for consistency. She doesn't engage in back and forth with someone who doesn't know what they want. Her life has structure, her mind has clarity, and her heart has standards. She's not hard to love. She's just not easy to fool. And because of that, she automatically separates herself from the crowd. She becomes the kind of woman who can't be approached with just charm or appearance. She requires depth, effort, and alignment. When a man with real intention comes across a woman like that, he steps back for a second, not out of fear, but out of awareness. He understands that this is not someone he can play with. This is someone who could elevate his life, sharpen his purpose, and challenge him to become better. And if he's ready for that, if he's in a space where he's not just looking for someone to pass time with, but to build something real with, he will rise. He will elevate how he communicates. He will be more consistent. He will take accountability. He will stop showing up with half effort and start showing up with a whole plan. Real men are not afraid of high standards. They're not put off by boundaries. In fact, they appreciate them because it gives them a clear picture of what's required. It gives them direction. A woman with standards helps filter out the boys pretending to be men. And when the right man shows up, he doesn't ask her to shrink. He makes room for her strength. He doesn't try to outshine her. He walks beside her, knowing that two people in alignment are more powerful than one person dragging the other. There's a major difference between someone who likes the idea of you and someone who's ready for the reality of you. The right man isn't afraid of your independence, your ambition, or your standards. He embraces it. He sees you as a partner, not a project. And if there are areas in his life that need growth, he doesn't get defensive. He gets to work, because the presence of a high-quality woman pushes him to operate at his highest level. Not out of pressure, but out of purpose. He understands that a woman of value deserves to be met with a man who is equally intentional, equally grounded, and equally committed to growth.